Hey, everybody, welcome back to Deserts of Plenty. My name is Ralph. This podcast is my attempt to just make sense of the world as I see it and, start a dialogue and a conversation that hopefully people will share in. I get inspired reading about the old, Soviet Union, the communist bloc, the Eastern Bloc. And I think it was Václav Havel who was a playwright and then became the president of the Czech Republic. I believe it's the Czech Republic after the fall of communism. And I think he said, what we did to survive is we just didn't participate as much as possible. We did not participate in the world that was dictated by the government. We sort of lived our own lives, and that's what I'm trying to do, is just like live my own life and not have to fight every battle, but look for a way forward, a way to begin talking to each other, to focus on what the similarities and not the differences. As I was thinking recently about generational tension and how every generation thinks the generation that's going to follow is going to be the ruin of everything. And there's this saying, I don't know where it comes from or who said it, but it goes, good times make bad people make bad times make good people, and on, lather, rinse, repeat. And I'm coming to see that as true, or at least feels true. That it's, by existing in a culture that is going difficult to turbulent like this one, that out of this, hopefully, good people will emerge. And good people, I mean, there are good people everywhere, but good people will start becoming the leaders again, not the toxic people that we're getting now. Um, but just about this generational tension, I was thinking about, there's this quote attributed to either Aristotle or Socrates, who's complaining about, quote, kids today, and turns out that's not true. He didn't say that. Someone else made that up. And like humans in good stories, we just believed it, we love good stories, like the frog in the water. If you put a frog in water and turn up the heat slowly, it'll stay there and boil to death. Not true. When the frog gets uncomfortable, he'll climb out. But it's a great story, so we just tend to believe it without question. So, what are you believing that you don't question? That's my question, because I believed that frog thing for decades, probably. Just assumed it was true, never questioned it. Turns out it's wrong. Anyway, tension between generations, between, adults and their children, uh, is just normal, and it's how renewal happens. And as Robert Sapolsky said in his book, it's probably why teenagers have evolved this desire to go to bed later and get up later. It's just a way for them to get away from their parents, so they can go out and live their lives. Like, I think this is during the times when we were living on the savannah in small bands of 130 people. So anyway, I'm not a good old days person. I don't look back, and want to be back in the 70s. I think there was a lot wrong in the 70s, for sure, in the 80s, in the 90s. A lot wrong now too. It's not like that was perfect and now it's terrible. It's like, oh, there was some things that were good back then and some things that were bad back then. And some things have changed and gotten better, and some things have changed and gotten, in my opinion, not as good. But that's, society and the zeitgeist, and things are on a pendulum. They go one way and then they go the other, and they go one way and they go the other. But I wanted to highlight one of the ways in which I think we have kind of regressed, or and to our detriment too, and that's this notion of the benefit of the doubt. We used to. So just to back up for a second, I grew up in the East Coast, and a very, very homogeneous community. Didn't realize how conservative I was until I was thrust into Montreal at the age of 20 in a theater school. So not only was I in an extremely liberal city, but also an extremely liberal part of that city, a university and a theater school. So when I arrived there, I was just so utterly naive and so not exposed to the world. it was the first time, for example, meeting openly gay people was in my early 20s. Like, but before that, I had met gay people, but I did not know that they were gay at the time because nobody could be out because where I grew up, it was impossible. In fact, even my I guess I was probably 22, 23, and a friend from my hometown who's about 2 or 3 years younger than me. As soon as he graduated school, he came to Toronto and he lived with us for a while. And that's he came out and he had a great time, but he could not be out and be, where I came from. Not at that time. So there's a lot of culture shock, and I had views. I didn't really thought about this, and like I didn't grow up political really. But when we started talking to my friends, I realized, oh, I have, I don't agree with a lot of the things that they held, a lot of very liberal views, and I was not that way at all. And so I would talk to them about this, like death penalty, abortion. These are things that I would have been more on the conservative side, and they were on the liberal side. And so we would talk about it and we would debate vigorously, but, and then once we were done talking about them, we'd go hang out, rehearsals, go to class, grab a drink. These disagreements did not define the relationship. At no point did these people, my friends and acquaintances, they didn't write me off. They didn't call me toxic. They didn't try to like ostracize me from the group. They gave me the benefit of the doubt. They said, "Oh, this is what Ralph believes, and he feels, but we know we'll talk him into it. Or whatever. We'll bring him around, or we'll discuss it." But they didn't. Oh, you believe that? You believe in the death penalty. Oh, therefore we can't be your friend. We can't talk to you. It's too much. And that was, that's the very late 80s, like 86 to 90, something like that. And now fast forward to 2026. I live in Toronto, a pretty still very liberal city. I mean, the arts community downtown. So, I mean, downtown is a very liberal city, lower part of it. In the arts community, it's very even more liberal. And but when I interact with people, I still don't have that sense of judgment. So I have friends who are conservative, members of my family. I know people who are anti-vax, people who think that 9/11 was an inside job. I, all kinds of different things, conspiracy theories, but I don't judge them. So when they talk about it, I listen to them, and may push back on certain things. But I mean, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. I'm the one trying to learn. Uh, and some of my friends, have to kind of live who are just conservative, but they don't feel like they can talk about it and be out about it because of the judgment that they're going to get. For me, the eye-opening moment was when the Barbie movie came out, and I was talking to a female student of mine, and we were standing around. We were in a crowd of people, and it came up, and I was curious, and I just said, "What did you think about it?" She was in her late 20s, and woman. Thought was just curious to get a different view of it. And before she answered me, she did that thing where you whip your head around to see who's listening, and then leaned in very quietly so nobody could hear and said, "I didn't like it." And to me, I was like, that's chilling. I just find it chilling. She was so concerned about how she would be judged based on her opinion of a movie that she didn't feel like she could share that with anybody but me. Like she was really concerned that someone might hear her and then out her as some kind of, I don't know, self-hating woman. I don't know what she was afraid of, what her thought would happen, but certainly she assumed or felt it was not going to be taken well, and in my own life, I'm a, I was, I took Sam Harris's course in meditation and waking up his app. And as a member, I got a coupon for 5 free, annual memberships. And I was going to share that on social media. And I was like, wait a minute, I can't share this because it's Sam Harris, and Sam Harris is political, and people are going to judge me. I'm afraid they may not have. I didn't do it, but it kept me from doing that. I stopped myself from doing it because, well, I have a business, and I didn't want people to think that by sharing this coupon, that I now stand behind 100% of everything that Sam Harris has ever said. And, I mean, for the record, I agree with some of the things Sam Harris says, and I disagree with some of the things he says. Like everybody, there's nobody on this planet that I agree with 100%. Not one person, and not one person with whom I disagree 100%. So this is what's different now is there was a benefit of the doubt, right? Like, oh, you believe in certain things. Okay, well, let's talk about them. Or maybe someone said something and there was a question about whether their intention, if it was good or bad, but you would say, could you clarify that? I think I may have misheard you. But we would extend to people the benefit of the doubt of like, okay, I misheard. That's not what that person really is. Now it's the opposite. Now if someone says something a little off, we're like, aha, wait, oh, I got you. You're toxic. You're a terrible person. And even just by association of certain people, right? Like it's terribly sad. 'Cause I was a big Noam Chomsky fan, and now his whole legacy is now ruined because of his association with Epstein, and that's sad because he was a great fighter for liberal democracies and outed a lot of bad stuff, but now is his legacy is curtailed, and that's too bad. But those things happen, and don't know where I was going with that, but anyway. So, but now I think what we have in large part, and I think it's changing. I think it's kind of going away, which is nice, is this culture of purity tests and virtue signaling through call outs, right? And the thing about call outs and yelling at people and calling people names, calling them, whether you call them toxic, right-wing nuts or libtards or whatever, is it's not changing anybody's mind. We're not talking to each other. We're not growing together. You're just hardening people in their position by being mean to them. You call people stuff often enough and they'll come to believe it. So on the left, we're driving people into the arms of Andrew Tates and Donald Trump. Like, I think that without social justice, like the real extreme social justice, the social justice that seems to have no goal except just more, have driven a lot of people towards the right and are partly accountable for the election of Donald Trump. And I think on the right, the same thing has happened, that you've hardened by pushing so far to the right. You've pushed people, those of us in the center-ish, pushed us far left. And now I think many of us in the center are just like, I don't know what to do. Because I don't believe in sides. And the horseshoe of political discourse, the horseshoe shape, is that at the far right and the far left, they come back around and start to resemble each other. I mean, the far right and the far left do have a lot in common. Not their opinions on certain things. The window dressing, the flavor is different, but they do a lot of things similar, including bullying and doxing and all of that stuff. But yelling at people and calling names is not helpful. It's not productive. And I'm much more for the different model, a better model, the Martin Luther King model, the non-violence, the non-judgment. And he would draw bigger circles around groups and look for common ground. So when he would do a rally and, white people would show up with, signs protesting, and they would say, blah, 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 black man. He goes, hold on. And he would draw a bigger circle and say, we're both men, right? Or we're both parents, or we're both Americans, or we're both humans. Like, you can find common ground. And when you identify and work with people, it's much harder to see you as them, right? It's so easy right now for people on the left to see people on the far right as thems and the enemy, and vice versa. It's so easy, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse unless those of us in the middle can start drawing bigger circles and start saying, okay, we're all human beings. We're all, you know, I mean, the one nice thing you can say about people on the far right and the far left is they're highly motivated to change people. They're highly motivated. They're very engaged. They're passionate. Like, that's good, right? Those things are good, but we got to channel them in different ways, I believe, to work together, right? And so my invitation to you is to, if you are on the far right or the far left, is to think, like, what do I want? Do I want to change minds, or do I just want to yell at people? And am I doing the things that I think are right, or am I doing the things that I think will be perceived as right or taken as right? And I'll leave you with this, a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. What I must do is all that concerns me, not what the people think. All right. Well, that's my time for today. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you here next time. Take care. Bye.